So let's talk about AI. And the topic today is specifically how to move from risk to return. And I'm going to visit this through a case of managing generative AI in corporations. So first, what do you think, in your experience, when you've been like taking AI into use, what has been the biggest challenge there? Any ideas?
Engineer.
Prompt engineering. Okay. Any other ideas?
The sources, verified sectors.
Checking the sources, accuracy. Anybody else? Good. So everybody has different hardest problems. That is something I have learned. I'm not here to tell you statistics. You can go to the internet. You can find what Gartner is saying about this. You can find out what McKinsey is saying. I'm going to tell you experiences that ACX, my company, has accumulated over years when we have been involved in different AI projects, and specifically how this landscape has changed. So what we do, we help companies build digital solutions through design and engineering. We focus on two things. First one is something we call secure cloud, and the other one is how to make AI approachable, how to solve real-world problems through AI. Actually, nowadays, these two are merging together. The big boys are investing so much into the cloud that putting together AI solutions is largely cloud engineering. So let's start approaching this risk situation. So about 3 years ago, ChatGPT was launched. And after that, pretty much every businessman and organization started figuring out, like, how do I use this to advance my business? Everybody was in a rush. What we have learned is that rush means very different things for different people. When we talk with some companies and they say, I'm in a rush, it means that they want to get something implemented in 2 weeks' time. Some organizations, it means that we can have the first meeting as soon as in April. So it's very subjective. But there are some commonalities, some patterns we can see, like now touching everybody. One is how fast the technology is changing. So if you're launching an AI solution today and you started 3 months ago, you probably have totally different set of technologies and processes in place than if you started 6 or 9 months ago. And like that has always been the case, but especially after the AI revolution, things have started moving much faster. Another thing is that, like in many companies, there is not enough IT resources to build all the AI tools that they need. And like companies encourage people to come up with their own solutions. So lines of businesses come up with their solutions, and it's a good way to learn. It's actually a great way to move from slides to action. But it comes with a cost. It doesn't scale later. We will come back to this. As a result of these two patterns, so you have like different age technologies in use, and they've been built by different organizations, maybe not always that professionally. You know, you don't always involve IT, they don't have resources, or you don't want to involve them, everybody has different reasons. You end up with not a portfolio of managed AI tools, you end up with a random selection of tools that all have like different characteristics. Now, these three patterns that we can see result into different kind of risks. The first risk I want to raise, and we don't have much time here, so this is just a subset of what we see, is something I call life cycle management risk. So we used to have this age-old concept of a end-of-life process. So if a software was taking like to end of life, you got an advance warning, and it was like months. It was like typically like half a year. Somebody's telling that this software is not going to be available anymore. Plan something else, rebuild your tools. Well, now that everybody's in a rush, not just the organizations that are building this, but also the big boys, the ones who are like competing of the AI markets here, everybody's in a rush. We have kind of abandoned this concept of end of life. So under 2 years ago, ChatGPT launched the 4.0 model. It was the flagship model. And they just gave an end of life warning at the end of January. And guess how long was that warning? Like how long a warning they gave us to kind of revamp our tools, get that old system out of play? Is it 6 months? 3 months? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. What can you do in 2 weeks? I mean, it is not the latest model. They have the 5 model family, but not everybody goes with the latest and greatest models. If something works, you don't necessarily touch it. And yes, you can replace that with the newer version of the ChatGPT, but it's not going to behave the same way. You don't have time to even test that. So this is the new reality that we're living in. So who is then responsible for the visibility of this? Who is managing this process if it happens this fast? And it's not just the underlying AI models. There are a lot of other vulnerabilities there, things that can break. So we are relying on integrating to different line of business tools. So your CRM, your HR system, whatnot. Those APIs go out of business like this. They don't even give a warning. You just realize that it doesn't work anymore. And then you have all these integrations you build, the data sources go offline, integrations break, and so on. So that is a new problem that we are seeing. The second problem I want to raise is the data access problem. So AI is very good at finding out, mapping all the information that is available. So let's imagine that you are building a simple AI tool. You want to give visibility for people that how much vacation days they have and how much they have consumed. So you integrate through an API to the HR management system. Now that integration might grant you access to also performance evaluations and salary data and so on. If you build a simple system and you do minimal amount of testing, you test that, okay, can I fetch the information about the vacation days? Yes, I can. It works. If you don't test the corner cases, somebody's going to find really critical information from there. Second layer there is that it's not just the production data. What we see quite often is that during the development and testing, the engineering team has full access. So while they are building this system, they access through the API and they can look all this data. The junior engineer knows the performance evaluations of everybody in the company. Not really a best practice. Now, these two examples are something that you could kind of consider as somebody else's problem. So let me take a third example that probably touches like most of you. So assume that you are now responsible for the customer care process in your company. And John is one of your employees, and John just handed in his resignation. Or he got hit by the infamous bus. He's not working anymore. Who are you going to call? What do you do? How do you solve this problem? What department in the organization helps you? John left. It's not Ghostbusters? No. HR. Every company has some kind of process organization called HR. And in matter as a manager, you reach out to the team and you say, we want 1 month short. So everybody needs to pitch in. If that's a problem, let me know. We're going to delay some other projects. But you're going to reach out to some kind of HR process, and they have tools, processes, everything in place to find a replacement. The good news is there is also budget. John is not going to be paid his salary anymore, so automatically you have a budget. So this is the way we are used to operating. But now you believed in AI, so you built an agent that replaced John. Everything worked very nice for a couple of months until one Monday you come to work and you realize that that agentic AI John has been offline the whole weekend. What do you do then? Who are you going to call? You can call HR, but they're saying this is not the human resource, this is an agentic resource. We can't help you. You can call the IT department, and they may or may not help you. It might be that they're very willing to help you. They might tell that, hey, you created this mess, it's yours. Or they might say that, every man and their dog have been building AI solutions. We already received 17 calls this morning. There are 17 standalone systems that are relying on that one API that broke or that one system that went offline. So get back to us in March. So these are the problems that come when you have uncontrolled AI tools in your organization. And the bad news doesn't end there, because you really like this agentic AI, John. You also replaced 10 of his colleagues or 100 of his colleagues. So how are you going to go to your team and say that we just lost 10 people's resources, so could you work a little bit longer day? So those ways of fixing problems we are used to don't work anymore. So let's start approaching then how do we turn this risk into return? And it's a two-step problem. First, we're going to describe how the basic AI apps are built today. This is not a best practice. This is the root cause of all the problems that I mentioned for you. So if you want to build the basic AI app, you need some kind of AI model there, like we have here. Then you typically need access to some kind of corporate data system. It could be CRM, it could be your finance data, your code, whatever. On the other side, you have then the end users who might be John, the person, or it might be John, the AI agent, and they are consuming this. And then we have this black box in the middle, and this is what everybody has been building on their own. So they experimented, moved from slides to reality. They started building something, and they made something that works, but it wasn't really built based on the best practices. So what are the kind of challenges we have here? What do you skip when you build an application, but you're not really a professional here? First one is security. It's complex. You don't really know it. You're not an expert. It's not something that you kind of get caught on the first testing. So you probably skip that one. The second one is that since you're in a hurry and you're building this on your own, you're not relying on the best practices, what somebody else in the organization has done. You keep reinventing the wheel. You build everything again and again, which means that you're wasting the resources, but you're also losing probably you're not following the brand guidelines. Probably the user experience from application to application is totally different. So from user's perspective, it's like a mess. You operate one system, you don't know how to operate the other system. And finally, you're not just like building throwaway code that is only living in this one application, you're building this technical debt. So the day things go down, it's somebody else's problem to fix it. IT department needs to come in and like find out, okay, how do I solve this mess? So these are the kind of challenges this black box approach causes you. You don't have a common platform in the system anymore. So there's got to be a better way. How do we move from the risk to return? And at ACX, we call this ACX AI Nexus. So we have now opened up this black box into some critical elements. These are elements that you build once on a platform level. You don't build them application by application. So let's look at what is critical here. And there are a lot of components, so we're just going to sample some of them. So the first one I call conditional connections. So you have API gateway or other means so that you are accessing just the applications that you need, just the databases that you need, and it's conditional to like what you need to meet this like a business need or this business process. The second thing here is the timely aspect. So it's not just the runtime when you are like the end user side using the application, it's also when the developers are accessing it to build and test it. The second part then is the shared building blocks. So if you have a good UI library, you don't want to build that again. If you have good functions that are built, why waste time on like rebuilding those and confusing everybody? You want to have a consistent prompt library, not just the prompt that the user has, but the system prompt behind that gives you the tonality and guardrails and so on. Then the more boring stuff here. So configuration, security, governance. This is the stuff that nobody wants to do, but has to be done so that we are operating in a safe environment. And finally, then the ops monitoring delivery. So you want your application to improve over time. So you want to have insights, you want to have analytics that you can build on, and then some kind of DevOps system that you can deploy these changes and you can maintain or have the maintainability of the solution. So by building things once in a holistic way, you're going to reduce the risk. You're going to get rid of the throwaway solutions where you build something once and when it comes to end of life, you lost that whole asset. You're building an asset for yourself and accumulating the investment. You will end up saving money directly, and then because it's more maintainable, it will save you money going forward. I'll give you one more good thing that you need to keep in mind. So the way we have built this is that you don't have a vendor lock-in. So we can help you get started, but you can at any moment take it over yourself or bring another vendor to help you. So you are the one who owns it. It's infrastructure as code. It's easy to implement. You run it. And I'll give you an example why this is important. So think about when Uber and Lyft came out. You could get to the airport in $10 and you thought this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, right? And then when they pushed the taxis out of the market, all of a sudden it takes $60 for me to get to the airport. How did we end up here? Well, they were in a land grab mode, and we are living an anomaly right now. So we can get the greatest AI tools that humankind has ever had, quarter after quarter for consumer prices. Well, guess how long is this going to last? All the big tech companies, private equity, VCs, they are not doing because they are like nice guys. They're in a land grab mode. They are now like locking us in, and like when you are locked in, then the prices are going to go up. You are already starting to see that. So whatever solutions you choose, whatever tools you choose, whatever partners you choose, think hard, a little bit further out than the 2 quarters out. Where are you building yourself? What kind of lock-in are you building yourself into? So I hope that this presentation has given you ideas that building an AI solution is much more than selecting an AI model. You need to think about the manageability, the cost, how do you bring the return, how do you manage the whole portfolio of your AI needs and the life cycle of them. Thank you very much.